There's been a lot of concern trolls out there really going after Eric July and the people that have supported him. Kind of crazy stuff. I feel like a lot of these guys think that they're like trying to save Eric July. Like, we're going to save you from all these right-wingers that you're apparently associated with. Meanwhile, he's sitting back. He's like, I'm trying to save you. I would bet Eric July's Young Ripper channel on YouTube has grown more comic book customers in the last 24 hours than CBR does in an entire year with an entire staff of people regurgitating lame-ass takes on comic books and pop culture every single day, 5, 10, 20 times a day. Yet they're trying to save him while he's trying to save the comic book industry. And a lot of people have been highly critical of Eric July and the success that he's had. Today, I want to look at just how successful has ISOM #1 from the Rippaverse really been. We know the numbers have been staggering so far, but when you start putting it in context with its peers, specifically other crowdfunding comic books, it's absolutely staggering. You can look at some of the other pop culture items outside of comic books that he's competed with. He's absolutely blown them away. And then you look at how his numbers are performing, and shockingly, he's performing better than Marvel and DC Comics. And really, I guess what's really ruffled people's feathers is he has said there is no wokeness in this comic book in ISOM, and there's essentially like no politics whatsoever. It's just action-based storytelling, old school heroes the way that you always wanted them. And that definitely pushes against the grain of the comic book establishment, the entertainment establishment, and they need to shut Eric July and the Rippaverse down by any means possible before the word gets out, which I think a lot of people already know this, that woke content just doesn't sell. And it's time for a new direction, not only within comic books, but all of entertainment. Obviously, we're mostly a comic book channel here, so we'll start there. First of all, congratulations to Eric July, the Rippaverse for ISOM #1. The numbers are staggering. Let's take a look at what he's done so far. The ISOM #1 campaign so far, 40,401 backers for a total of $3,469,712.24. That is a massive, massive sum, no matter what you're trying to sell. And it's almost incomprehensible when it comes to crowdfunding comic books. And the most insane thing about this campaign is Eric July is running it on his own. He's taking all the risk on himself. I believe he pre-printed a ton of these comic books, believing in the success of what he had built with his YouTube channel, the trust that his audience had in him. That has resulted in the most successful crowdfunding comic book in the history of the world. And Kickstarter and YouTube get none of it. He's not shared any of the profits. He's keeping it all for himself, his artist, and his creative team. The success that Eric July is having with this campaign is absolutely undeniable. Let's look at the top 10 Kickstarter comic book projects for the first quarter of 2022. With nearly $3.5 million, Eric July's campaign would be #1 by an absolute mile, beating Vampire Hunter D, Message from Mars graphic novel, which did around $445,000. Vampire Hunter D is a well-known anime and manga. It's a known property, and you would expect it to have a very big success. And $445,000, I don't want to undersell this, is absolutely enormous. Anything that goes over like $200,000 when it comes to crowdfunding comic books is like a staggering success. You can see on Kickstarter, they only had 3 books in the first quarter of 2022 that even broke that number. At number 5, my good friends Tim Lim and Mark Pellegrini with Common America Volume 5, $143,000. They certainly went well over that because they also did an Indiegogo campaign as well. So congratulations to Tim and Mark, because $143,000 is a very big success in comic book crowdfunding. Now think about $3.5 million, absolutely staggering. Let's go look at IndieCrowd. I consider a lot of these creators to be more peers of Eric July and the Rippaverse themselves. Most of the people on this list have their own YouTube channels that are very successful. Obviously, Eric July's Young Ripper has, I think, 500,000 subscribers. So that is astronomical as far as the numbers. I think Ethan Van Sciver is closing in on 200,000. Richard C. Meyer with Comics Matter has over 100,000. I believe Raging Golden Eagle is closing in on 100,000 subscribers. John Malin and Cecil both have established YouTube channels as well. And all of these are exceptionally successful as far as comic book crowdfunding. Obviously, going over $1.2 million is an enormous success for Ethan Van Sciver. I believe if you added up the extra campaigns associated with Blood Honey with like exclusive covers, that number would also go over $1 million. 2 of the most successful comic books in the history of crowdfunding. You can see Richard C. Meyer on Jawbreaker's Lost Souls, over 10,000 backers. Wreck Planet, almost 12,000 backers. Think about this. ISOM has 40,000 backers. The numbers are absolutely staggering. And these are all exceptionally successful crowdfunding comic books. Generally speaking, until the last couple of years, the Order of the Stick was the most successful crowdfunded comic book in history. Almost 15,000 backers, $1.25 million raised. If you're unfamiliar with Order of the Stick, I believe this was a webtoon that went on for like 6 or 7 years, and they finally collected it, did a crowdfunding campaign, and went over $1.2 million. That was the #1 campaign as far as comic book crowdfunding for many, many years. ISOM #1 from the Rippaverse has blown those numbers out of the water, set a new high water mark when it comes to comic book crowdfunding. The comic book that initially beat the Order of the Stick is Berserker, had less backers with 14,571, but quite a bit more money generated from the campaign, $1,447,212. Beating this campaign is absolutely huge because Keanu Reeves is associated with this campaign. Obviously, he's the star of the book. The main character looks exactly like Keanu Reeves. He's co-writing it with Matt Kent, one of my favorite writers, and you also have Ron Garney, one of the best comic book artists of all times, illustrating the book. This is an all-star creative team with a name attached like Keanu Reeves that transcends comic books. Yet the Rippaverse was not only able to beat these numbers, it blew them out of the water, over double the amount of backers and the amount pledged to the campaign. When you compare what Eric July has done with ISOM #1 to its peers as far as crowdfunding, it's not even close. It absolutely blew everybody away just as far as backers and money generated. Now let's look at something more pop culture related. Recently, we had the Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney+. So this is Star Wars. It has the backing of Disney and a new character that was introduced. Now, $500 for a lightsaber is a lot of money, and that's why it was crowdfunded instead of put directly into the market because it was a very high-ticket item. They targeted 5,000 backers for this campaign. The Star Wars Black Series Reva, the Third Sister Force FX Elite lightsaber, they only received 1,413 backers. This is a product, certainly very high-end and much more expensive than ISOM #1, but this is backed by Disney, backed by the most fervent super fandom in the world, and it couldn't sniff its actual target backer goal of 5,000 backers. This is another example that Eric July is right. Once you start going woke with these franchises, once you start polluting your franchise with that material, lifelong fans start walking away and stop supporting the thing that they love, that they supported their entire lives. Now let's start comparing ISOM #1 numbers. These are graphic novel sales from MPD Bookscan numbers. So these are real numbers. These are actual graphic novel sales in North America in bookstores, not comic shops, but bookstores. These are the only hard concrete numbers that we have. How would ISOM #1 compete in July of 2022? The most logical category to put ISOM #1 would be in the superhero graphic novel section. It would absolutely dominate with its 40,000 units ordered, actually beating Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin hardcover from IDW. Do I believe that ISOM #1's numbers will beat Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Last Ronin hardcover over a 2 or 3 month period? Absolutely not. We know the initial printing of that graphic novel was actually 60,000. They've almost sold out to bookstores and comic shops, and they've actually ordered another printing of 100,000. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one of the most popular franchises in the entire world. Countless movies, cartoons, backpack shirts, comic books, you name it. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are on it. The Last Ronin is something a lot of people were excited for. Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird's lost script for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 30 years ago finally being published. This is something people were absolutely excited for, and this is a number, 24,634. That is not typical for superhero graphic novel sales on MPD Bookscan. That's actually an anomaly. And if you look there, there's almost nothing recently created by DC or Marvel that's actually making the top 10. We do have Batman Fortnite 0 Point, but that's associated with Fortnite. And if you buy that hardcover, you get exclusive in-game skins and stuff like that. So there's another audience that's actually chomping on that book to get exclusive skins. The only other modern comic in here is Stranger Things. DC and Marvel are producing nothing, absolutely nothing modern and new that people want to read because they are infested with woke bullshit. Perhaps purging woke bullshit from your comic books is the way to go. There's a good chance that if Eric July entered the comic book market, he wouldn't actually be in the superhero graphic novel sales section. He would actually be in the author section because he is a self-published comic book creator. If he were in the author graphic novel section for July of 2022, he would have come in second to Lore Olympus Volume 2 hardcover from Del Rey, which did an amazing 56,462 units. Lore Olympus is one of the most successful webtoons in the world. Millions of people have seen that comic book. That was the debut of the hardcover edition of the second volume. You can see number 2 on the list is also the second volume, but the non-hardcover edition. That is nothing to sneeze at right there. 40,000 units absolutely competes in today's comic book graphic novel market in the mainstream. Everyone knows that manga is hot as can be. Can Eric July and the Rippaverse compete with manga sales? Abso-damn-lutely. It would come in number 1, beating My Hero Academia Volume 31, who sold 38,931 units in July of 2022. Obviously, these aren't perfect comparisons because these volumes will continue to sell month over month in bookstores across North America. I'm not certain what Eric July's plans are for ISOM number 1 in the future. Is it going to be available on his website after the campaign is over? I'm not really sure. But for 1 month at least, ISOM number 1 would have been the best-selling manga graphic novel if it was in that category. And if we looked at all graphic novel sales for July of 2022 for the adult market, which includes superheroes, author graphic novels, and manga, it would come in number 2 right behind Lore Olympus and right above My Hero Academia. This is an enormously big deal because I don't think Eric July is specifically going out there to challenge manga and author graphic novels. I think he's going out there to challenge the superhero market, specifically DC and Marvel Comics. If they can't hear what his fans have said and his customers have said loud and clear, that fans have had enough, there's nothing else Eric July can do for the comic book industry. He's gone out there and shown them you can create new customers. You can have people excited about your comic book universe. You can sell with the big boys when it comes to manga and author graphic novels if you put out a product that people believe in. Right now, most fans just don't believe in DC and Marvel these days. Instead of trying to fix Eric July and point out what's wrong with him, maybe it's time to take a step back, acknowledge the success that is the Rippaverse and ISOM number 1 and Eric July, the platform that he's built, and the fact that he's creating new customers and you aren't. Of course, that will not stop the comic book media from attacking Eric July. This has been happening for quite some time. I actually talked about Rich Johnston from Bleeding Cool, basically doing a hit piece on Eric July, ISOM number 1 in the Rippaverse, basically kind of degrading him and whatnot. This is par for the course right now. People are not going to stop attacking this guy until he goes away, but it doesn't look like that's happening. Definitely check this out for more coverage on the Rippaverse and Eric July.